Hello, everyone, and welcome to WM32 Football Q&A session. I hope you're all well and staying safe during these difficult times for everybody. Thought I'd just do a little bit of something different during lockdown and whatnot, and put out a little something on my social media for you guys to get involved. So this is really about you and whether you want to try and learn something new, or try and ask me something that you perhaps haven't had the opportunity to before, or to learn something new about me. A little bit about myself. Wesley McGrath, 24 years of age. I'm a Tottenham fan. Supported them all my life. And I'm also a football coach in the Milton Keynes area as well. So I will be answering your questions based on football and on coaching as well. So I think the first question that has come in today or over the last sort of couple of days has been from Joe underscore Stonell 18 and Chloe Packwood on Instagram. And they've asked my thoughts on the potential restarting of the season and what I think should happen. Um, for me, what I think should happen is that the season should be null and voided. Straight up, null and voided. No promotion, no relegation, just null and void it. And then we're ready to go again for next season. And I think that would just be better for everybody. I know a lot of people will probably try and at me going, "Oh, you're only saying it because it's Liverpool at the top of the league and you don't want them to win the league and all that." Listen, I was there in Madrid when Liverpool beat Tottenham in the Champions League final, so yeah, it was gutting and whatnot. However, it's I'm not bothered who was top of the league, um, and who's bottom of the league, really. So yeah, for me, I just think it's you can't you can't crown Liverpool champions when there's still a mathematic possibility that another team can win the league. Equally, you can't send three teams down when it's mathematically possible that other clubs could go down as well. It's just an unfortunate situation, I think. Um, and yeah, for me, null and void it and start again. Um, in terms of European places and whatnot, I don't know how you would go about that. I don't know if it's worth looking into UEFA's coefficiency table and picking the top teams from an English perspective, anyway, from UEFA's coefficients table, and then the top four from that go into the Champions League, and then the next ones down go into the Europa League. It may seem unfair because it might be that Arsenal actually end up in the Champions League. Be a nice change considering they haven't had it for a little while now. Um, but yeah, I just can't see a way in which football can return safely at this moment. And I think the longer you put this season off in order to try and get it done, I think there's going to be so many different effects and ramifications that will go into next season as well. And obviously, we want to try and get a full season in for next season. I think crucially as well um, that clubs can start planning financially, and everything else behind the scenes for next season. Hospitality packages can start to be drawn up for games and everything else like that. So it's not just on the pitch where we might have a problem. It's also off the pitch as well, because there's people that have jobs off the pitch that are still waiting for a decision. And I think the more clarity that there is on it, the easier it will be for everybody going forward. And I think everybody will know where they stand then. I think with this uncertain time at the minute, everybody's still so unsure. So for me, it'd just be better to null and void it. Um, we've, as I've mentioned, I am a Tottenham fan. So Joe's asking my favourite ever goal seen live. Um, yeah, this is a tough question, Joe. I'm not gonna lie to you, mate. There's a few in there. I was there when Musa Sissoko scored. So that's a moment that will live long in my memory, because I don't think anybody was ever going to see him score. So there's that moment. You've got Heung-min Son's goal against Burnley in the 5-0 win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this season. You've got Harry Kane's goal in that same game, which, only got upstaged by Son's goal, really, because that was a fantastic goal in itself. If I look back a little bit further, you've got Dele Alli's two headers against Chelsea at White Hart Lane, two fantastic finishes, and yeah, that was an emotional day for me. Turned out to be my last ever game at White Hart Lane, as it was. So yeah, those two goals, that game will always stay long in my memory for sure. I've got Sandro's goal against Manchester United in there as well, and if anybody remembers that particular game, it's the same game that Vidic and Kyle Walker went absolutely flying into one another, and whatnot. Kyle Walker actually scored in a free kick in that game. Wayne Rooney scored a penalty, and Sandro scored an absolutely unbelievable goal in that game. If I look back at the season before, Tottenham Lyon in the Europa League, Gareth Bale's free kicks in that game, and Samuel Umtiti's goal in that game as well. Three absolutely unbelievable goals. Umtiti's one gets shown on social media near enough every day, and I couldn't quite believe that he'd scored that goal. And I remember speaking to my dad about him as a player, and I said, "Look, Dad, he will become a top centre back." And I was actually quite surprised he was playing left back in that game, but he's scored an absolute worldie of a goal and put it in the top corner. But yeah, Gareth Bale's free kicks in that game were also up there as well. There's a team goal that sticks out in my mind as well. Tottenham against Everton at Wembley. I think we won 4-0 that night, and that last goal, every player touched the ball. So really, really good team goal, and it was finished off in style by Christian Eriksen. So yeah, there's that one. But if I had to pick, you know what, I'm gonna give it Sandro. Not Fernando Llorente, for his goal at the Etihad last season. Yeah, no, for me it has to be Sandro's goal, because I didn't expect it. I don't think anybody in the ground expected him to unleash the shot that he did. So if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Sandro's goal against Man United. But no, really, really good question, Joe, and it was one that got me thinking. Question in from Harry_Gray 4 on Instagram, which is, which game that you've been to has had the best atmosphere? Best atmosphere. Oh. Tough question, because there's been a few games that I've been to where the atmosphere has just been unbelievable. But I think there's just one game that will stick out for me, and it was the North London derby in Tottenham's full season at Wembley. We won the game 1-0. Harry Kane scored a fantastic header. But that atmosphere, I've never known anything like it. Usually when going to games, you can hear, no matter where you're sat, you usually hear sort of both sets of fans singing and chanting, really. But that day, I think the Spurs fans just outdone Arsenal fans in terms of that. The atmosphere was just electric, and I think we pretty much sang from the first minute to the last that day, and that game as well sticks out to me from a fantastic performance from probably one of my favourite players to wear a Tottenham shirt, Moussa Dembele. I'd never seen anybody marshal a midfield three in the way that he did that day, and I've said that on numerous occasions. He manhandled Xhaka, Wilshere, and Ozil on his own, and yeah, that was just fantastic that particular day. 12:30 kickoff as well. Um, so yeah, that game has to be the best atmosphere, I think. Other games to get a mention again: North London derby, my first North London derby, which was a 2-2 draw. And Robbie Keane and Jermaine Genius had scored for Spurs, and Genius getting a last minute equaliser. That one was pretty special. Like I said, never been to a North London derby until that point. So to sample the atmosphere for that game for the first time was pretty special. Spurs Chelsea games, I've been to a few of those. Those atmospheres are always electric, um, and whatnot. So I was there with the 5-3. That atmosphere was fantastic. Obviously, Dele Alli, two headers. I was there at that one. Was also there, and I think the first time I went Spurs Chelsea, it was around 2005. And Mido had got sent off for elbowing an apparent elbow on Asier Del Orno that day. Chelsea had won 2-0, and I just remember that atmosphere being pretty tense, and having to run for my life pretty much after the game. Chelsea fans kicking off outside Tottenham, outside the ground and whatnot. And yeah, as a young lad, it was fairly scary, but at the same time, it was one of those things that I didn't really want to see, but always thought, well, what's that side of football like? And obviously, I didn't really see too much of it. But no, that was a pretty cool atmosphere that day. And like I say, as a young lad, you see and you hear about the violence that has happened in football. Thank God it's not really as bad now, or as bad now as it once was. But to see a little bit of it was interesting, shall we say? And I think as well, Chelsea game, in Gus Hiddink's only defeat as Chelsea manager, when Luka Modric scored, that was a pretty good atmosphere that day. Kickoff getting delayed half an hour, Chelsea kicking off outside. It was a bit annoying and a bit frustrating, because you're in the ground with what you feel is plenty of time to go, and then to hear that kickoff's been delayed by half an hour was an interesting one. But no, really really good question, Harry. So thank you for that. Um, Couple more fan questions. Which overseas team that you've seen at Spurs have you enjoyed watching the most? And that one's coming from Megan Sarah 97 on Instagram. Really, really good question, and one that has made me think. I've been very, very lucky and very, very fortunate to see some top European sides against Tottenham. Seen us tear apart Real Madrid at Wembley, and that sort of goes on to Harry's previous question in terms of atmosphere. That atmosphere was pretty good that night, as well. Remember walking down some the stairs at Wembley to get out, and singing Dele Alli's chant was pretty special, as well. And that lasted literally all the way down the stairs, and there was a rush of fans. Well, I wouldn't say a rush of fans. There was a lot of fans trying to get out at the same time, and yeah, to just hear that in unison was fantastic. So seen Real Madrid, seen Barcelona last season in last season's Champions League, seen Ajax again last season's Champions League, and seen Borussia Dortmund on a couple of occasions, as well. But and Bayern Munich, also from Germany. Best team performance, I have to say, has to be Ajax in last season's Champions League. In that semi-final, they were unbelievable that night. And there'd been a lot of talk about this young Ajax team and what they'd done throughout the competition so far, and it was almost their time. And they should have been well out of sight for me, Ajax, in that first game. They could have easily been 3-4 nil up by half time. They were that good. And I just remember after the game just turning to my dad and going, "Wow, what a team! What a team!" Best individual performance I've ever seen is Lionel Messi at Wembley, when watching Barcelona. He delivered on everything that I anticipated, um, in terms of going to see him play. When you go and see the superstars and the real elite players play, you expect them to deliver, in a certain way, and Messi did that 100%. Um, whereas Ronaldo for me didn't, and I know there's a question on that later, which I will come to. But yeah, Messi tore Tottenham apart, and I didn't realise that you could be that good at football, basically, and be that dangerous when you haven't got the ball. So yeah, Messi for me is the best individual performance that I've ever seen, and the most ruthless, has to be Bayern Munich. Again, this season's Champions League, um, they were fantastic in terms of taking chances, and it's a lot of things that within coaching we tell teams a lot. When you get the chances, can we be ruthless? Can we be clinical? Can we take it, when it gets presented to us? And Bayern Munich certainly did that, especially in the last few minutes of the game, and the scoreline ended up getting embarrassing. And I remember that game because it was a really strange game. Spurs were in it for the majority of the game, and then all of a sudden Bayern just flicked the switch, and they were on fire. Everything they hit from a certain point just on in the game just went in, and there was literally nothing anybody could have done really from that night, and whatnot. So yeah, those. So like I say, best team Ajax, best individual performance Messi, most clinical Bayern Munich, from fans' perspective. Megan has also asked the first team that you watch play Spurs. Um, Massive throwback this one. So my first game as a Tottenham fan was against Everton, back in 2000. I was 5 years old, and if I remember rightly, I don't remember too much of the game, because I was so young. So I think if I remember rightly, I was sitting on the East Stand upper, shelf side upper, to Spurs fans, and yeah, that game, like I said, first game going to White Hart Lane as it was, and yeah, the scoreline finished 3-2 Tottenham. So it was always nice to see your team to see your team win, but to do it in your first game, I think is extra special. Um, I don't know who scored all the goals, but I do know that Tim Sherwood scored the winner. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing on both Spurs and Everton's part that Tim Sherwood actually scored. So yeah, like I said, and again, I don't remember too much. I always remember though walking up the high road, and hearing one person that's had a bit too much to drink, before a game, always shouting out "Yid Army," and that's a moment for me where I always feel like I'm here, I'm at the ground, I'm watching Spurs play. So yeah, that was my first game, watching Spurs, and whatnot. Charlie Hannum's also just piped up and asked, should the league be restarted? Charlie, I did answer a similar question, regarding that earlier on. So I'm gonna say have a quick watch of it before, just so you can get my answer on that, because I don't particularly want to go over it again. Um, so that's, well, all time. Megan's also bloody hell, Megan. Also asked about my all-time favourite goal, and Joe asked about the favourite goal that I've seen live. But this one's an all-time favourite goal, and it pains me to say it, because it's scored by an Arsenal player. But it is Dennis Bergkamp's goal against Newcastle. It was a pass in from Pires. He takes a touch, spins the defender like a Beyblade, um, and then gets his arm across him. I think the defender's Nikos Dabizas, as well. And then, like I say, puts his arm across Dabizas and slots it past Shea Given, and it's a goal that I've tried and tried and tried to recreate on many occasions, but I can't get Bergkamp's touch, and the flick round Dabizas right, because it always ends up, either being just a really good first touch, or I'd end up putting too much on the flick really. So it's always a goal that I can't recreate. Um, so yeah, it has to be that one, because the skill level is just absolutely outrageous, on that. So yeah, that's probably my all-time favourite goal, and even still to this day when I see it on Premier League years, say on Sky Sports or whatever, I still always wonder how Dennis Bergkamp did you manage that. I think he did say in an interview, um, that he didn't mean the touch, and that just makes it for me even more of a genius type of goal, really. But no, thank you for those questions, Megan. Moving on into more of a coaching, capacity now. And Casey, one-on-one coaching, has asked, where do you get your coaching ideas from and who inspires you? Um, so coaching ideas, in a team environment perspective, it is usually based off of sessions that I've taken part in as a young player and enjoyed. Um, you may have heard Martin White, on our podcast the other day, mention that he, when putting sessions on, he always asks the question, would I enjoy this session as a player? And if the answer's yes, then he'll do it. If the answer's no, then he doesn't tend to do it, and whatnot. So yeah, I sort of take a similar stance, on that, um, really. And like I say, it's usually sessions that I've taken part in as a young player that I use. I think coaches are probably the best thieves, in terms of nicking sessions off each other. But actually, like I say, it's more, the ones that I enjoyed, and then I add my own little spin on them to make sure that they are suitable for the needs of the players that I've got, because ultimately they're the ones that I'm coaching now. And excuse me, in terms of who inspires me, a lot of different people, actually inspire me, within life. I could name them all, but I'd probably be here for a very, very long time. So I think if I look back along my journey, so far, I would probably say Pep Guardiola, 100%. Marcelo Bielsa, Roberto Martinez did have a big, impact and influence on me in his time at Wigan, especially. And I think the last one is Mauricio Pochettino, for the environment he created at Tottenham, and everything else that goes with that. So yeah, those are probably the ones that have inspired me, the most throughout my coaching, my coaching journey. And Harry underscore Grey 4 on Instagram has asked, who inspired me to be a coach, or what inspired me to be a coach, and is there a certain role model? Obviously with that one I've just mentioned, people who've inspired me within coaching, and whatnot, and my role models, if you like. But did I always want to be a coach? Probably not. I say this a lot. I wanted to be a professional footballer, like most young kids, these days. I was no different. Like I say, wanted to be a pro footballer. Realised that about the age of 15 it wasn't going to happen, and that I needed to go down a different path. And so I thought about coaching, and it's just something that I've enjoyed, and I think by and large kids have enjoyed me coaching them. So, like I say, it was about 15 where I had the moment of what am I going to do, how am I going to look to pay bills in the future, and everything else. So yeah, I volunteered on a few holiday camps, and took it from there, really. Like I say, kids sort of took to me, I took to them, as well, and found that I had a decent knowledge of the game. It can always improve and always get better, but like I say, I felt my knowledge was decent, and I wanted to give something back to the younger generation and that next generation coming through. So no, thanks for that, Harry. And Harry's actually also asked, what is the end goal for myself and within coaching. Um, the honest answer is, Harry, it really does depend, to be honest with you. Um, if you'd have asked me this 10 years ago, when I initially thought about becoming a coach, it would have been to become an academy coach, um, and whatnot. So with that, I think, with being an academy coach, obviously you're working with the best players available to you from a particular area, and that's what I wanted to do. However, going to university and whatnot, and being exposed to different avenues such as recruitment and scouting, it was something I thoroughly enjoyed, and perhaps would like to go into that in the future. So before lockdown, I was on my UEFA B, and just completed the first block of that, and I'd got my passion for coaching back. Excuse me, because I felt I'd lost it a little bit. But no, I think an academy recruitment type role would be perfect. However, they don't particularly come about very often. So that's where ideally I see myself going. Excuse me. Next question has come in from suspense. Stash. It's coming from. I'm just going to say Stash. And that is, how long do you have to be coaching to make it a full-time job and make a living? Very, very good question. Um, I think now, with the way things are, there are a lot more jobs going in coaching than perhaps there was previously. Um, I've been quite fortunate in the fact that I've set up doing one-to-one coaching, and who knows, in the future I might expand and do other bits and pieces on that. But as long as you have the right level of qualifications, you can try anything and perhaps start anything, really, within coaching. It can be quite tough and quite challenging, to get enough hours excuse me, to make it worthwhile. And a lot of people that I know do get frustrated with that. Sorry, I just need some more. But like I say, a lot of people, they do get annoyed and frustrated with the fact that the hours are unsociable hours. A lot of evenings and weekends get taken up, because you are coaching. So it can be difficult. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's an easy thing and an easy road, easy journey. You have to stick with it. And one bit of advice I would say is have an end goal of where you eventually want to be. Whether that's a UEFA A licensed coach working in the professional development phase within a football club, then if you've got that as your end goal, work backwards and work out what you've got to do to get there. And like I say, there's going to be bumps in the road, like there is with many journeys, and many walks of life. But as long as you keep going, and keep persevering, I'm sure that you will get there, as well, and try and make it happen. But like I say, you just got to keep going with it. Question has come in from Nick 180791 on Instagram. Who's better, Ronaldo or Messi, and why? About time. somebody asked me this question. So, I have been fortunate to see both in their greatness, in their peak, if you like, within the space of roughly a year. So I saw Ronaldo when Tottenham beat Real Madrid 3-1 at Wembley, and I saw Messi when Barcelona beat Tottenham at Wembley 4-2. And I can only go off of what I've seen realistically, as I think that's a better argument. For me, Messi is better than Ronaldo, and my reasoning is this: I usually say that Ronaldo is the best athlete in the world, and Messi is the best footballer in the world, and that's probably the only way I can separate the two until I saw them both live and realised that Messi delivered. I mentioned earlier about you're going to see these elite players and you wanting them to deliver. Messi delivered on that, and what I was expecting to see was him run the show, and he did that, whereas Ronaldo didn't. And Ronaldo was certainly upstaged on that night. But it's so difficult to try and separate the two. But yeah, for me, I just think Messi's is just natural talent and natural ability, and everybody goes on about but they work hard, everything like that. Listen, they both work hard. To stay at the levels that they both have done over a sustained period of time. You don't do that without hard work. But yeah, for me, Messi just can drag a team through a game and pick the game up by a scruff of the neck and really take hold of it. Whereas I don't think Ronaldo has really done that. I think Ronaldo's more one that when things are going right, he then steps up as well. Don't get me wrong, like I say, the levels that they've both set over the sustained period of time have been nothing short of fantastic. And Ronaldo's mentality to want to be the best in absolutely everything that he does is something that resonates with me 100%. Because it's, if you don't want to be the best in what you're doing, then why are you doing it? But yeah, no, for me, Messi. It's a tough one, but I'm just going with Messi. Max_Risby has probably come in with one of the best questions, which was, can you please explain to everyone that Scholes was better than Gerrard? Facts. Really, really interesting. Clearly a United fan with that question. Listen, I've seen both play. I've seen both control games. I've seen both score important goals at important times for their retrospective teams. Obviously, Scholes at Man United and Gerrard with Liverpool. Yes, Scholes has probably won a lot more trophies than Gerrard. And I think what goes in Scholes' favour is actually the fact that other world-class midfielders said that he's the one that they look to. I don't particularly hear much with Steven Gerrard. But yeah, it's another tough one. You can even throw Frank Lampard in there. I'm not going to get into the whole Gerrard, Scholes and Lampard debate because no one's asked me to. But no, Scholes better than Gerrard. You could argue yes, because Scholes set the standard of how good you had to be at Man United. And all the ex-players that have played with Scholes have said the same thing. So yeah, don't know what else to add on that one really, but thanks for the question. 2 questions have come in from Cameron on Instagram. Best attributes for a number 8/box to box midfielder. Best attributes, scanning, number one, 100%. Any message that I tell young players these days is check your shoulders, always know what is around you. So that, scanning awareness, whatever you want to call it, is a big one for me. If you're aware of what's going on around you, then it informs your decision making on the ball. Um, I think obviously technical ability, passing range is going to be crucial because you're probably one that is looking to, especially as a number eight, you're looking to set the tempo of the game and dictate play and everything else. So yeah, I'd probably say your passing range to be able to play short and long is something that is a requirement I would suggest for a midfielder. To be a box to box midfielder, you'd probably have to have good stamina, especially at 11v11 game. A lot of running is involved there, but I also think timing of your runs is important. Mentioned Frank Lampard. The timing of his runs to get in and around the box were just unbelievable. But again, that comes from him and his awareness and just being in that right place at the right time. I think you'd have to be able to have some form of aggression and strength to to go and win the ball back as well, and and whatnot. So yeah, again, I would say that that's a key attribute for a number eight on a box to box midfielder. Cameron's also asked how to improve your long range passing by yourself. Difficult one. Again, with restrictions, especially in these times. Again, it's going to be quite tough. One thing I would suggest is maybe if you have like a family member, parent or younger sibling, or maybe even older sibling, try and get them out and just keep. I think it's just more about repetition, um, and try and repeating the steps process within long range passing. So your approach to the ball, your non-kicking foot, making sure that's the right distance away from the ball, striking through the ball, always. Quick look up as well before you even do it to know where your player is, that you're passing to. Like I say, non-kicking foot next to the ball, and make sure you strike all the way through the ball as well. But for young players, I know a lot of people get frustrated. I know a lot of young players, get frustrated about power. Um, Listen, with young players, power will come. As a young player, you're going through so much change within your body that it's only natural that certain things aren't always gonna go how you want it. So yeah, just be patient and define success for yourself when doing little technical bits like that. So success for you might be that you're getting your non-kicking foot in a good distance away from the ball, and that's success for you. You're not necessarily worried about where that end goal is, or it might be that you hit the ball to a particular player. If you're doing it in isolation 10 times, or you do it 8 times out of 10, that might be success for you. So it's all about what works for you. But yeah, I think as long as you got that step process in place, then then a lot of things will go for it. Had a question in from Ted Walton regarding coaching and what has been my biggest achievement so far within coaching. Um, Ted, there's two, and I can't split them. Um, First one has to be getting on my UEFA B course, something that I set out to do a long time ago. Again, when I wanted to be a coach at the age of 15, or thought about coaching at the age of 15 and working within an academy, it was something that was always stressed to me that I would need as a minimum. And so to be able to get on that this year has been an unbelievable achievement for me, and has brought together a 10-year plan and is almost a landmark for that 10-year plan. So there's that, and also would have to be winning a trophy as a coach. through my time in Manchester. So in my final year at university in Manchester, I was working for a company that had a grassroots team, and we managed to get to a cup final, and yeah, we won it. The game was over at Curzon Ashton, and it was just such a brilliant day, brilliant moment for myself. Bit strange, not gonna lie. I'd been and played in one cup final as a player, and I actually scored in that cup final. So, but to be on the other side was really different. I'm having to motivate a set of players to win to win the game really and win the trophy. Um, Whereas previously I was the one being motivated and not having to do the motivating, um, and whatnot. I think a lot of coaches will say it's about player development and everything else, but I think when you're in a cup final, there is that element of you actually want to win, and I think I wanted to win. Not, I mean, it was a great occasion for the players and everything else, but I think it was to prove some people wrong. And get a taste of what it was like to do that in a cup final. I'd had quite a few doubters along that particular year, regarding my coaching ability and everything else. A lot of people sort of disregarding the competition as well, and actually I thought, no, let me prove you guys wrong and go, look, we can win this and put some silverware on the table. So I know there's a joke in there somewhere about me winning more than my club has in the last few years. But no, it was a fantastic day, and one again that I will never forget. My mum and dad come up to visit me that weekend as well, and to have them there in the crowd on the day was simply fantastic, and it was great to share that moment with them. Um, and I think there's one more question from Ryan John 2205 on Instagram that says, "Do I think Tottenham will ever win the league?" Um, do I think Tottenham will ever win the league? There's a part of me that thinks we will. When that will be, I don't know. I'll probably be very old and very grey by then. But there's a part of me that goes, well, actually, probably not, unfortunately. We've probably got one of the best managers in order for us to do it. Whether we can or not is another question. The Premier League is probably the hardest league to win, and it's become harder than ever to do so because, in my opinion, there's 5 other teams, excluding Tottenham, that believe that they should win the league. So, yeah, do I think we're going to do it? I'd love to say yeah, but it's to win any trophy. I think as a Spurs fan right now would be brilliant. I've seen us win 2 League Cups, and I'm 25 this year, so no one can really say I'm a glory hunter because we've barely won anything, as everybody keeps reminding me. So yeah, do I think Tottenham will ever win the league? I want to say yeah, because it's my team, and you always want to see your team do well. But I think there's a realization and a realistic nature for myself that goes, well, it may not happen. Currently Liverpool and City are ahead of the rest really. The levels that they've set, and actually, you've got other clubs with big investment. The Newcastle takeover, which looks like that's going to be happening. Who knows what's going to happen with them? They're probably going to throw themselves into the mix. You've obviously got Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal as well, who all think they should be winning the league. And then you've got other clubs with big investment, like Wolves and Everton. So it's going to be tough, so tough, and harder than ever, I think, to win the league. But like I said, I'd love to see Tottenham do it. I'd love to see Tottenham win anything, really. So it gets a few people off my back, and it would just be a nice moment, I think, for everybody to feel. I think we've come close on a couple of occasions. Um, there was a Worthington Cup final, I believe, in about 2003, where we lost to Blackburn. I remember that particular day. Had a bit of a party in my house with that day, and lost. And I remember that day especially because of the kit that Tottenham were wearing. So Tottenham had to change and wear a yellow kit because our kits clashed with Blackburn Rovers' kit, both blue, and white. Um, so yeah, I remember that day fully. We've had a few near misses in semi-finals of FA Cups over the last couple of years under Pochettino, and then obviously last year Champions League final was the closest, um, and whatnot as well. And not forgetting as well, we've had a couple of League Cup finals, so an appearance under Harry Redknapp in 2009, I believe, losing on penalties to Man United and losing to Chelsea in 2015, in Poch's first season, which a lot of people don't. I don't know whether they don't remember or they just don't mention it. Um, but I think that Champions League final was the closest I've really felt to, we're going to win a massive, massive trophy, at Tottenham, and it was the right, in my opinion, it was the right man that got us there and that had led us there. I know the league form had dipped massively in 2019, but it was like I say, the closest that I'd felt that we'd come to winning a big trophy. So I hope that answers your question, Ryan. Right, guys, that is it. Sorry for my voice nearly dying on you halfway through, and whatnot. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. This will be on YouTube, so don't forget to like the video, comment if in the comment section if you would like us to do another one, if you would like us to do a specific topic, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well, WM32 Football. Nice one. Peace out, everybody, and stay safe.